Guys, I just finished my museum tour of Oscar Schlinder's museum, famous, made popular by the movie Schlinder's List. And wow, I highly recommend it. I didn't think I'd ever be here, but here I am. If you're not familiar, this man basically saved over 1,000, probably 1,400 Jews from likely death by employing them at his factory when he probably could have hired much less. In fact, that towards the end he hired 15 women for one secretary position just to kind of stuff his factory with people to save them from death. And many of these people ended up having descendants and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So not only did he save those people, but all the more people that came after them. Really powerful exhibit. I highly recommend it. I realized this was not just a small exhibit just focused on his factory. It was a long one, and I really enjoyed it. I think it took me like 3 hours to get through, and I took my time. And even then, I didn't take the time to read every single display piece because there's so many, but this may have been one of the best done museums I've seen because you get the full story of the war, and each exhibit you pass through along this corridor takes you further down to more of the story, starting at the initial invasion of Poland all the way through to when the Russians came through and basically occupied and took over Poland. I honestly didn't know much as a Chinese American. It was touched on briefly in school, but told from, of course, the U.S. perspective in history class. And frankly, I didn't know much about any of this. I didn't know much about Poland. I didn't know its involvement in the war. Turns out it was right in the middle of all of it, you know. I think in English class in high school, we also read a few books about the Holocaust. The main one being this book by, I think his name was Eli Weitzel. I haven't said that name in over 10 years, but we read a book by him about his experience going to and staying in Auschwitz. And turns out like this was all here. So I learned a lot about Poland. I learned a lot about the atrocities that happened. There were so many stories, personal profiles, and it's funny because I was at the Hiroshima Museum Memorial not long ago before this when visiting Japan, and that one also had personal accounts and profiles of individuals. But I felt like this one was done even better. There was so many stories of Jews, and there's stuff I didn't know. It was shocking how tough it was. They were rationed like something like 300 calories a day, which means by default they basically had to like steal or technically commit sins, which meant stealing to basically get enough food so they didn't starve. And then, of course, it just got very harsh. A lot of them were sent to concentration camps, which were brutal. 12-hour work shifts, sometimes double shifts. You weren't like given much food at all, and the slightest whiff of disobedience or something they didn't like about you. I mean, some of the commanders at these concentration camps were cruel psychopaths. It was just terrible to see, and you also see more of the color and the grayness and the detail of the story. I think the movie or pop culture might paint Schlinder as like this perfect person, but like you read his full story, and I love how they actually told his like a bit more about him. But this guy was he was a womanizer, and he cheated on his wife constantly. So he wasn't perfect. He did some bad things. He was also a informant and spy for the Germans, and got captured and was scheduled for execution before the Germans invaded, released him, and now he was informing for the Germans. And it didn't happen overnight. I think gradually over many years he started realizing how terrible the Jews were being treated, and he felt like they should be treated as humans. And I guess at some point he eventually decided to just save as many as possible. There's the movie Schlinder's List, which I need to rewatch. But it's very powerful, guys. I highly recommend the exhibit. A lot of the exhibits were very well decorated, and had all these like artifacts from the war, from guns to tanks to clothing to Jewish armbands, Nazi armbands. When the Nazis took over Poland, you move to the next part, and then you see these Nazi flags. And then when the Soviets came, then you see like Stalin's big portrait. It's really well done. You see every part of it. The whole Schlinder part is actually a very small portion of the museum. Really powerful museum. I'm really glad I did it. These kind of somber, sad things, it's not necessarily why I embarked on traveling, but like when I'm in the area, I'm like, oh, of course I have to see that. And wow, was it super moving. Unfortunately, I won't have time in my short visit to Krakow to see the Auschwitz camp, which is a like 1.5 hour drive away, and then 1.5 hours back. I don't have the time, but I definitely want to see that if I'm ever back in the area, which I hope I will be, and I plan to be. Incredible, guys. And now I'm just gonna go to a Zapka, which is like it's kind of like the 7-Eleven of Poland, and just get something to drink because I am parched. I've been walking through that museum for like 3-4 hours. You also get these really cool like stamp cards where you can stamp at each station throughout the museum, and it marks key moments of the war. I didn't realize it until like halfway through, so I missed a bunch of stamps early on. So that's unfortunate, but it's okay. I still got the bulk of the experience. Amazing, guys, amazing. I mean, I could talk about it for ages. I was thinking of filming parts of the museum for you, but there's so many other videos about that, and whenever I do that and film a compilation, no one really watches it because I guess there's other videos on YouTube that already do it better. So I figured I'd focus on the unique part that I can contribute, which is just my own personal review and reflection after seeing that as a Chinese American. I mean, what a powerful exhibit. And now look at where we are. We are on a snowy day in the winter, end of the year, and the factory is literally like right over there. It's not that far, and now years later it's a developed place. There's plenty of nice stores and restaurants around. It's completely changed. But what a powerful exhibit.